time again to take a look at some important trends here. The most interesting week of 2018 is behind us, except for maybe the price action that we saw in February. But last week really showed us some interesting stuff. A couple of markets got going. So what are the longer term trends doing? How can we maximize our profits by getting into these trends, holding on to our position while these trends are unfolding, and how can we add on in these types of market environments. No matter what the reasons for why markets get moving, or no matter what the time of year is, if it's summer and markets are not moving at all, or we have some crazy news coming in that are putting many markets into their trend direction again and get them moving. We just want to follow the price action, and we just want to add on where it makes sense, and we want to stop out of positions where it makes sense. So I heard something about Turkey and Trump and tariffs and whatnot. I don't care. I'm just following the positions, and as has been proven again this time, we are already in the trend. We are already short, or we are already long when these types of news occur, and the market keeps moving into our favor even more. And this is another characteristic of this trading approach, that while a trend is moving, very often the devastating news or the euphoric news that comes into the market will be the one that takes the trend further in the direction in which we are already invested. And so we are looking at the British pound yen at this point. Take a look at this scenario right here. We had been short from this first black line here. It led to the market correcting, going back into the balance zone. But since our stop is just on top of the balance zone, we didn't get stopped out. No, after quite some period of breathing here, 2 to 3 months, we were staying in this short position and nothing was happening. This week finally triggered the next sell, and we are short again. We have an add-on position in the British pound yen on now, and we have a close below the second breakout that really shows us this market does have some downside potential. And when we take a look, where is this going to move? We have this typical theory that we trade upon, or that we base the trading system on, which is a previous trend that has run to the downside, a correction of that trend, and now going down to these old lows here again. By the way, this is the all-time low, more or less a couple of points lower than this 125 area here that the British pound yen has ever been. So let's see if that will act as support, or if this market can even move further down. We are not predicting, we're not trying to find out what the target zone is. What's important for us is that we get these entries, that we move the stop along as this market is moving, and we stay in as long as it's good for us. That means as long as it doesn't move too much in the other direction. And that's pretty much the point in the British pound yen. British pound US dollar, we sold here, and we are looking at this to continue down. We have momentum coming in, as you can see in the red candles that are closing almost out on their low, and we have momentum increasing in the indicator as well. When you take a look at the monthly chart, you can see we are positioned into the correct direction. We have a downtrend, a correction, a downtrend, and another correction, and now this seems to continue down again. So we would definitely be looking for the 119, 120 area here in the British pound US dollar. So no magic that's happening, it's just waiting and patience. That is the important part while we trade stuff like this. Summer months have really been boring, and now we are continuing as August here has hit to the downside, hopefully. Australian yen, same issue. We have a sell signal up here. The market did nothing for 4 months even here, and now we continue this sideways, this downwards action. If you're not short in this already, just take a look at the current signals that you are getting. This would be a nice place to sell. Please make sure that when you trade this, or when you find your approach to trading, that you're not distracted by other people who buy these situations. There was just this week the situation where this famous guy on Twitter was buying British pound yen when I was adding on to my short. But he was looking at a 1 hour trade. I'm looking at weeklies, you know. If people want to go long in a weekly downtrend, feel free to do it. It's not for me. I'm sticking with the overall path of least resistance, and I'm adding on as the market is moving. But it's all a question of style. And here we have the same situation. There will be tons of people, probably even more people than me, who look at this as a buying opportunity, whereas I'm looking at this as a sell opportunity on the overall time frame. So I want to be sure to sell the Australian yen. And when you look at the overall situation here, you can see that we're very nicely breaking out on the monthly to the downside as well, and possibly hitting old lows in the area of 70-73, and if we're lucky, this thing will even go much lower into the 50 area, 55-60 area here where it previously traded, but we don't know. That's why we just want to follow the market here. But these were already 3 very nice charts showing you that stuff is happening. Euro dollar, very interesting as well. We have a sell. I mentioned it on Twitter. I'm short. However, please understand that the euro US dollar on the overall time frame has not formed a breakout signal and is sitting right on top of massive support. So if the euro really will weaken against the dollar here, that much remains to be seen. We are following this price action and we are short, but we are not adding on. I'm not adding on here as we do not have a clear overall situation. Another couple of pairs when it comes to valuation against the dollar. Let's take a look at New Zealand dollar against the dollar. Need I say anything more? We have a trend down, we have a long correction, and now we continue this to the downside, and it's going to hit new lows. It's going to hit new lows for sure. We don't know if the lows that are going to be hit are those ones here at the 0.60 0.63 area, or if we're even managing to go down to the next support level, 150, 152 area, or even 0.4, 0.45 area. When I take a look at this whole situation here, I see an uptrend with a divergence in there. Okay, be sure you spot that. You have higher highs here, but the momentum high is lower than over here. So the uptrend ends, you have your first leg down, this is being corrected, and now the market is breaking out on a monthly time frame to the downside. These are very long time frames, but this is exactly what we want to see before we enter positions on our trading time frame, which essentially just means that if you can take up positions that are aligned, monthly chart aligned with the weekly, with the daily, even if you trade that, then you are in the right direction. Then you are really following the trend. You're not following the trend if you start to buy here. Not at all are you following the trend. You're not following the trend if you start to sell in here. Okay, so that's important. What else have we marked in this chart very easily? We have target areas from previous scenarios marked. They all failed. Okay, it failed us to go long here. We lost. And over here, when the market already broke out, it failed us to go lower here. It didn't happen until now that the breakout is successful. And this is just a downside from trend following, that you get many breakouts that fail. And therefore, you want to make sure that the risk management works well and that your initial position entries are very, very low risk. Even if you are following the trend in the overall direction, even if your monthly time frame is lined up with the smaller trading time frame, even then you will be failing a lot of times with these breakout approaches. But there will be this time when it works, and then when you see the momentum building up, when you get more signals in the trend, you add on with more risk. And that's what makes the difference in your risk reward ratios. Same situation is happening in the Australian US dollar. Breakout to the downside. We even marked it on the monthly a while back. We are short on the weekly as well. Nothing else to add here. Euro Swiss franc is also a pretty beautiful thing, if you ask me. Then your breakout that happened this week here is quite awesome. It looks really nice and has the divergence in this trend here as well. Take a look. and not really any momentum that was built up after this huge drop in 2015, January of 2015. Uh, this is not an initial upside movement that tells you, hey, look, I really want to turn around. This is just, slow stuff, slow correction. The market is breathing after this huge drop. Of course, the market's going to need some time to come up and kind of level itself out to previous levels before it can create a new trend for some new valuation uh, with a new time frame, or on this time frame. So we want to sell this as it's being hit here last week. And again, we don't care why it has been hit. We just recognize that it has been hit. US dollar yen, we have lots of black lines in here which all mark breakout levels. This one here failed. This one here made a little bit of money. Those add-ons here failed as well. So you want to make sure that you are able to even sustain these higher risk entries that you took. So when we add on, when we say higher risk, we're talking a maximum of 3%. We're not talking 15 or 20% on one position, because then you're done. That's you're done. Too much of a loss. That's what all the newbie traders are doing, but that's not what you should be doing if you really want to make this work over the long term. And of course, as the market turns around on the other side, we buy in here, but we're having this buy for 4 weeks now, and as you can see, it's not profitable. The market has not decided to trade higher here so far. Taking a look at the overall time frame here, what you can see is a market coming down, a correction going on, and maybe now with the weekly fractal being taken, we come up higher. Let's see if that's really the case. So far on the monthly, we are sitting right in the middle of resistance, so we shouldn't be too euphoric about this yet. US dollar Canadian has exactly the same situation going on. You have your uptrend, you have your correction, and now we have a fractal created on the monthly that the market is trying to exceed now here, but still we have been buying from this fractal and from this fractal, but we are not really making any money as of now. Stop is right below these last two candles that you can see. Let's take a look at gold. No uptrend, right? Gold has no uptrend. Gold broke down to the downside here, and it's moving down more and more and more. Don't know what to say about that. That's just the market, and if everybody thinks it's going to really be a great bull market, it's going to move out like crazy, you can almost be sure it's going to go to the downside. And even I thought that it's definitely going to move out to the upside, and it failed me a couple of times in here. All these entries failed, these long entries failed, even this sell failed here. I'm not short right now, and here we have this massive breakout to the upside which never was hit. So right now we're not doing anything in gold, we're just watching this here and there. S&P still up, still really can't believe that all it did for us to be long here was to buy this in here, or to buy it here, and we are still in profit even though it's not that much. And the market is probably now creating divergences and making new highs, yes, but not with that much steam, not with that much power to really make us huge profits and to really get this going that much higher. The Dow broke out. It broke out here. It closes negative for the week. It's probably going to make a new high and then turn around as well. Who knows? We will watch the divergence that might be in the making. We don't know yet. And what else do we have? We took a look at the Spanish IBEX index just to have an example in here for your European markets. This is still more a sell to me than it is a buy. And when you take a look, this black line will be the line in the sand. If you are entering this for a trend following approach, you are selling it there, and you can see it on the monthly. We're breaking out at that same level on the monthly, and we are possibly coming into the 6,000 area, which means this market is losing 1/3 of its value, possibly in the coming months or years. Let's see if that will be taken or not. Very interesting as well, I'm just thinking of it, is the UK index. Take a look at this thing. I mean, talk about your really annoying and boring trades. You have your this massive divergent bar or hammer bar here, which was the sign I said a couple of weeks ago, selling the top. You know, when you have a drop down like this, failing to go lower after it created the first breakout to the downside, but moves all the way out there again, making a new high, no stopping in between. This typically V-shaped kind of correction that finishes off with a divergent bar that has, at the end of the week, a closing price below the old all-time high. Then you really have a situation where you can be selling, where you know people are taking profit here and maybe some people are getting short. However, as you can see here, this is so annoying. Nobody has any fun trading this, as the market is absolutely not sure where it wants to go. You have a lot of wicks in here, very small bodies of the candles, which means bulls and bears are so undecided here. Pretty typical situation that fits the fundamental situation in Great Britain, I guess. Don't really care, but I'm stopped out of this short that I took here with a loss. I had the stop above this candle, and as you can see, maybe that was a bad decision, because you have the price back in the middle of this zone, barely in profit now. You can sell this fractal down here, which I have a sell in for because I was stopped out here. That just goes to show again, selling the top doesn't make any sense. It's boring. With the CFD trading, you are paying overnight commission, and nothing gets going for months on end. And so maybe it's better to wait for the breakout, or even better to wait for this market to have the overall situation aligned with what you're doing internally. So this really shows us that we have a lot of stuff going this week, and this week really was the time where this started to get going. Before, nothing really was exciting, and therefore we want to take up the opportunity that the market gives us. And as you can see, it doesn't have to take a long time for the market to do that. And all of a sudden it happened, and all of a sudden it's there. Let's take a look at one more very interesting technical situation for this trend following approach. I have said before that I'm looking at some stocks, and when you take a look at this stock here, EDF, it's a French stock, doesn't matter, you can see that we have a typical divergence in the price and in the momentum indicator, and this is a textbook example for a breakout that happened here this last month, and on the weekly you're long now. You have your typical divergence in here, a fractal being formed, and now this market is simply moving higher. We don't know how long it's going to take, we don't know what kind of momentum it will carry, but it seems to be the perfect kind of basic situation that you want to see for a high probability and high momentum move. And that is always when there is an exhaustion on the previous trend direction side, which would be the divergence that you see. And as soon as a breakout is formed, you want to take it and you want to hold it and you want to add on as it keeps on going. As this broke out here, the next level where this thing is going to be moving to is the 24-25 area right there. And there it's going to stop and then do a correction before we know where it will move for the long term, if it's going to continue even higher than that or lower. But these are the high probability momentum movements that are able to send the market that much higher. Very, very basic stuff. On your higher time frame, on the monthly chart, for me, I want to see these divergences. I want to look for markets that are in the process of breaking out to the upside, just like we saw this here. And then on the weekly, I want to take my signal. And when I do that, I already know that I'm in for a lot of waiting, that I'm in to really hold on to this and let the market find itself and find its way higher. And as you can see, this is our breakout. This is where I bought it. This week is not even finishing that positively, but that's just a grain in the sand. So let's just wait and see if this can really move that much higher and establish a trend. But that would be the basic situation where I say, this is what I want to see, this is where I want to add on. Compared to the British pound yen situation, where we can already see the huge downtrend already happened. We are adding on here, but the next target is right there. It's only 1,500 points away, whereas in the stock that we were just looking at, you can see that if this moves from 13 to 25, it's almost going to double. And that's really percentage-wise making a difference in the profits, and it's making a difference if you can distinguish high risk in a situation like you see here and very low risk stuff for your initial entries, for your entries where the theory says, yes, this market breaks out, yes, this might possibly move lower, but there are no guarantees. So for your initial entry, you want to make sure you take the lowest risk possible. And only when you see that your market gets moving, then you want to add on, and then you want to increase your position size. And that's really what's going to make the difference for if you are a profitable trader or if you're not a profitable trader. It's not the entries, it's not the signals themselves that makes this decision if you make money as a trader or not. It's the risk management, and if you know when to push your profits and if you know when to cut your losses. This is really the most important part here in this business. Thank you very much for dropping in again this week. It got a little bit longer. Post your comments if you have any, like the video, and I talk to you soon, hopefully. Bye bye.